the Kansas City Chiefs lost to the Green Bay Packers. You can't blame Cook, though. He gave his ankle for the game. All right, from there, let's talk about some number one seeds, yeah? After we talk about tonight's game, the Jaguars do host the Cincinnati Bengals. Look, it ain't Joe Burrow in the Bengals, so it's who in the Bengals. The Jaguars are 9.5-point favorites. You can't imagine Cincinnati winning this game. Maybe they could keep it close for a little bit. I mean, that's kind of the hope there. And run Mixon a ton and try to keep it a low-scoring game. But here's the reality. This is now a must-win game for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh.
They have to win this game.
Tell them why.
Because, A, the Bengals don't have a quarterback, right?
Facts.
So they're a bad football team without a quarterback. But on top of that, you've got the Dolphins.
Yep.
You've got the Baltimore Ravens.
Yep.
All right? And you've got yourself sitting there as the only three-loss teams. So if you can get to 9-3 and match Miami and Baltimore, you keep your hopes alive for the number one overall seed. The Jacksonville schedule, which we'll get to in just a second, is interesting because there's games in there I can tell you that's a guaranteed dub, and there's games where you say, I don't know. Like the Cleveland Browns now, to me, is an easy W for them. Baltimore is not. Tampa fighting for a playoff spot should be an easy win. Like you could make the argument that Jacksonville wins 5 of their last 6 games because they're going against no quarterback tonight, no quarterback next week, Baker Mayfield in Tampa, no offense at all in Carolina, and a bad team down in Tennessee who I know fought Indy hard yesterday, but they're not a very good team. So Jacksonville, schedule-wise, has the easiest path to get to 13 wins.
Yeah, you're 100% right. With the Dolphins, because the Chiefs have fallen, with the Dolphins and Ravens, I mean, if the Jags win, the Chiefs fall a full game back between those 3 teams. And if you're the Jaguars right now, this is your game for the taking.
Yes,
bottom line.
It's a must-win.
It's a must-win. Don't play around with it. If you're Trevor Lawrence, this is where you come alive and you dominate this ball club. Because I think the Bengals right now, it's a slow kill without Burress.
Yeah, but listen, the teams that beat up on bad teams like Miami did and Dallas did early in the season, now their schedule gets tougher. Jacksonville's got the easiest part of their schedule, and it's the last 6 weeks of the season. Listen, here's the reality. Let's just say it the way it is, right? The Baltimore-Jacksonville game, if you want to put up the schedule, guys, just one more time real quick. It's 3 weeks away, 4 weeks away. That game, it's 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away, right? The winner of that game now controls home field advantage. The loser can't get it.
You look at this, it's disappointing if they don't get 13.
What?
It'd be a disappointment if they don't get 13.
Oh, I agree.
Listen, we need receipts. I said my man Joe Flacco. What? He threw for 254 yards. I said he'd throw over 100 yards. He wasn't bad. The old man can sling it.
So you're picking the Browns over the Jaguars.
Hey, man. Jacoby,
we got all next week for you to anger people in Cleveland. All right?
America, don't be silly. Listen to Willie.
So assuming the Jags do win tonight as a double-digit favorites against the Cincinnati Bengals without a quarterback, let's take a look at the number one seeds, right? Who has the best shot? From a schedule standpoint, Jacksonville's got the easiest schedule. Okay. All right? And assuming they get to 9-3, you've got Miami currently the overall number one seed, Baltimore right there, number 2. Kansas City's out of the conversation now because you just said they've got that fourth loss. Game. Kansas City, though, wins the tiebreaker against Jacksonville because they beat them head-to-head, but they are a full game behind, so they're no longer in the conversation in the moment. If you base it on schedule, right, then the Jaguars have the best shot and the inside track to being the number one overall seed if we only base it on remaining schedule. Yeah. They ain't playing against but one good quarterback.
I just can't give it to them solely because what I just said. The Browns and Ravens are going to knock them.
The more I look at it, the more I feel like this is not just in play, it's like almost likely. Because of their schedule. They're going to win 5 of those 6 games, and they're going to end up with 13 wins. And you look at the schedules of the other teams they're competing with, I don't think they can match it.
They're not beating the Browns or Ravens.
Yes, they are. They're beating the Browns.
I don't think they beat the Ravens. I think the Ravens becomes their 4th loss. If you want to put the Ravens schedule up real quick, the Ravens right now sitting in the number 2 spot behind the Miami Dolphins. So the Ravens have L.A., all right?
Yeah.
Let's see. You want to give them that one? Maybe not.
Yeah,
all right. You've got, obviously, the game we already talked about. Jacksonville, they end it with the best team in football, the #1 overall seed, and a Steelers team that's got no offense, and probably as Mitchell Trubisky
I don't see
playing
them getting to 13 wins.
I think if you give them 2, they're at least going to get to 11, right?
I can see
maybe
11.
12. And again, they're good enough to win all those games, but San Francisco's a real problem for them. So I do think Baltimore gets to a 4th loss, which is why Jacksonville's got the inside track. And real quick, Miami's schedule, guys, if you don't mind. The Dolphins, who right now are the #1 seed overall, win, and then their schedule gets tough with Dallas, Baltimore, and Buffalo. So right now today, let's write down the date. What's today's date?
The 4th.
December 4th. The Jacksonville Jaguars are your most likely #1 seed overall. I said it to
Don't buy it, America.
I didn't feel that way until we just looked at all the schedules. If you play it out, I see them getting to 13 wins.
They're not beating the Browns and Ravens.
They're beating the Browns. They're not beating the Ravens.
Okay.
I
still think they're the #1 overall seed.
Can I get a receipt printed?
Wow.
Thank you.
How concerned are you about the Chiefs moving forward?
I have the same love I've been concerned about them all year. They're not right. And they're not right because the front office has decided year after year not to go out there and get Patty Mahomes legitimate offensive weapons. And the guys they do have when they get open aren't guaranteed to catch the ball. We've talked about that a million times. But here's the deal. For a team that's a mini dynasty, we all acknowledge that, and all the Super Bowl appearances and the great quarterback and the great coaching, if you're going to sit here and cry and moan about not getting a PI call towards the end of the game, I'm sorry, ain't nobody listening. It falls on deaf ears because you've the grace of God into your games, like the call on the sideline when.
Well, that was right before this. This was a makeup call.
Right, Mahomes is inbounds and gets hit right at the stick.
That was BS.
Right, and you got that call in the playoffs last year. You got the holding call last year that gave you the Super Bowl against the Eagles. If you're a Chiefs fan, nobody wants to hear you complaining about a call or a non-call that impacts the end of a game. Play better football, and you don't have to worry about the referees. Trust me. I watched the Jets play yesterday. As bad as the Jets are, the referees made it worse. So for a Chiefs fan to come out going, oh, we got screwed. Oh, Kelsey got pushed on the Hail Mary. That's what happens on Hail Mary.
Hail Mary.
Man, you know better than
You're
that.
allowed to push Kelsey.
But, Willie, you announced
is it true
earlier
that Swifty had to see a loss for the first time? Oh, shut up.
You announced earlier that Jordan Love is in a groove, and he certainly looked like it yesterday.
Yeah.
Not only he's in a groove, but talk about what you're seeing out of Watkins, right? And you talk about that offensive line backing him up, and they talking about A.J. Dillon. The bottom line, Jordan Love, for the early part of his career, there was a big question mark. Even started this season, right? You didn't know who he was or what he was. And this game was significant because this was his first start in the NFL against the Kansas City Chiefs, and he didn't play well. This game, he showed up, and he showed up in a major way. And I think the significance of this game overall is that LaFleur gave him the ball in crucial situations and believed in him, and he delivered. And he did it at home in Green Bay in front of his friends, in front of his fans. So I loved everything about this game, man. He was money.
Look, he's played good, back-to-back weeks now. The Thanksgiving game, he played his ass off. This game, he was part of the reason why they won the game. His best 2 weeks prior to the last two, or the first two, when it looked like, wow, they got a legitimate quarterback. Then he struggled like all young quarterbacks do. And now it looks like he's starting to figure out what it takes to be an NFL quarterback at a high level with young receivers. So I give Jordan Love credit for that. But, the story really, as much as it should be about Green Bay's big win at home against, Kansas City, to me is as much about all the things that are wrong with Kansas City. Because 100%. Kansas City, we kind of get lazy sometimes and go, oh, Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes, they'll be there. And yet I don't think they will be because I know they beat the Dolphins in Germany, and that counts, and it's on the record. But if they were going to play today, I'd take the Miami Dolphins. I think on a neutral field in Miami and Kansas City, I would take the Miami Dolphins today, and I know Kansas City beat them in Germany.
But it's not going to be on a neutral field.
I was just making the point that they're playing better football.
Yeah, we know that moving forward, but it's still mind-boggling to me that the Kansas City Chiefs have not played a road playoff game.
Right.
And that's where they're looking at now. And moving forward for Kansas City, still the only team that I think is going to challenge them not to make it back to the AFC Championship will be the Baltimore Ravens, because I think the playoff experience and the guys that they have and winning 2 Super Bowls, I think that is one of the things that's going to put them over the top.
But remember
this. To the playoffs, understanding and the moment and being able to go out and make plays when they need to.
If they become the 4 seed, that means you got to win 2 road playoff games to get to a Super Bowl, not just 1. Now, they've never had to win 1. They're clearly capable of doing it because Mahomes is that good. But this would be totally uncharted territory if they wind up sitting there in the number 4 spot. Now, I will say this. Whether you're Miami, Baltimore, Jacksonville, or Kansas City, the reality is, and I think you guys will agree with me on this, the only team in the middle or to the right that I think would have the opportunity to do something with an upset win would be the Houston Texans.
Oh, of course.
The Steelers have no offense.
Buffalo Bills.
The Browns don't have a quarterback.
Buffalo Bills.
I'm not sold on Buffalo
But
yet.
let me say this, and Plex is right. We haven't seen him on the road, and there was a reason for concern. Patrick Mahomes has no help. We have the graphic right here. You throw it up real quick, babe. This receiving core is doing nothing for him. Look at that right there. Travis Kelce, 4 receptions for 81 yards. And then he goes down for there. Obviously, Rashee Rice had 8 receptions, but that was for 64 yards. Overall, if it's not Pacheco, Kelce, or Mahomes, the Chiefs' offense is dead. You know what I mean? So if you're talking about this time of year where you're supposed to know who you are and the kinks supposed to be worked out, if you're a Chiefs fan, you have to feel worried going into the playoffs with this outfit.
I think the Philadelphia Eagles put him on wax on national television. Yeah. You slow down Kelce, contain him, 4 catches for 81 yards. That's a win.
And they can't go down the field. They cannot throw the ball down the field anymore. They straight up cannot.
Yeah, listen, it gives everybody else some hope. And that's all it does. I'm no joke. If you're Jacksonville, you're Miami, you're Baltimore, you're Houston, you're the Bills. I'll keep the Bills in the conversation for the moment. The fact that Kansas City is beatable, more so than they haven't for the last 5 years, gives every other AFC team that's in it, obviously, hope.
It used to feel like Chiefs first the field, but I would definitely take the field now.
Oh, 100%.
They just look vulnerable, right? Like you watched that game yesterday, and you're just like, I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for that
But we've been waiting all year for it, right? It's like Tiger Woods finished his tournament par golf. What? That's unacceptable.
What do you mean unacceptable? Come on, man.
Hey there. Thank you so much for watching The Carton Show. You can subscribe right here to get all the latest bits and segments from the show. And by the way, while you're at it, we have a lot of great shows on FS1, so check them out too.